In 2030, a deadly virus has wiped out humanity, leaving only Philip Miller as the sole survivor. For the past year, he has been wandering through different states of the U.S. searching for other survivors, but to no avail. Finally, he returns to his hometown, where he moves into a luxurious mansion and decorates it with valuable items scavenged from the city. Outside the city, he leaves a message that says, "I am alive," hoping someone might see it and come find him. Every night before bed, Philip prays to God, seeking forgiveness for his past actions and wishing he could meet a woman before his death. Within a few months, Philip begins living like an animal. He roams the city in his underwear, steals food from stores, and wastes more than he eats. His house soon becomes a landfill filled with plastic bottles, making even the bathroom inaccessible. With no water supply, he starts using his swimming pool as a toilet. To entertain himself, he destroys expensive items, like crashing cars and smashing high-end interiors. On his birthday, Philip tries to celebrate alone but is overwhelmed by memories of his happier days when life was normal and he lived a joyful life with his family. He regrets never thanking God back then. To cope with his loneliness, he visits a bar and starts drawing faces on bowling balls to talk to them. One night, he takes one of these bowling balls to a nearby clothing store, pretending to introduce it to his crush. However, when he hugs the ball too tightly, it breaks, sending Philip into a mental breakdown. Philip decides he no longer wants to live and drives his car at full speed toward a cliff. Just before he jumps, he notices smoke in the distance. He cancels his suicide plan and drives toward the smoke, hoping to find someone. Upon arrival, he sees signs of human activity, but no one around. Then, he spots a pair of women's undergarments and faints on the spot. In his unconscious state, he dreams of a beautiful woman trying to revive him, seemingly there to fulfill his last wish. However, when he wakes up, he realizes the person before him is not a young woman, but a normal-looking woman in her 40s or 50s. The woman, Carol, is initially startled by Philip, who is still in his underwear. Despite his awkward explanation, they formally introduce themselves. Carol reveals that before the virus, she was an analyst, and she has been searching for survivors for months. She saw Philip's "I am alive" sign and came here. While driving back to Philip's house, he disregards all traffic rules, which annoys Carol. She warns him that ignoring rules could turn them into animals. To calm her down, he stops at the next signal before continuing. At a grocery store, Philip parks in a handicapped spot, sparking another argument. Frustrated, he drives the car through the store's entrance to prove his point. At home, Carol is shocked to see the state of Philip's house, which is filled with garbage. Even million-dollar paintings lie discarded, while one pool is filled with trash and the other with sewage. Philip becomes irritated by Carol's constant nagging and asks her to leave. The next morning, Philip is surprised to see Carol cleaning his entire house. She instructs him to fetch groceries and gardening supplies, saying they need to live like decent humans. That night, Philip complains to his bowling ball buddy about Carol, saying it feels like they are an old married couple already tired of each other. Things worsen when Carol moves into the house next door and starts setting rules for both of them. She insists they must think about repopulating the earth, but Philip bluntly refuses, saying he cannot imagine doing that with her. One day, Carol asks Philip to help set up a water supply for the town so they can grow vegetables. Philip refuses, even when she offers him fresh tomatoes as motivation. Later that night, he sneaks into her garden and eats all her vegetables. When Carol confronts him, he denies everything, despite having vegetable scraps all over him. During the argument, he notices Carol's injured foot from working on the water supply. Over time, Philip sees that Carol, too, has grown tired of maintaining a civilized lifestyle. She starts using the outdoor pool as a toilet, just like him. Feeling guilty, Philip decides to fix the town's water system, which makes Carol happy. She invites him over for dinner, where they discuss repopulating humanity. However, Carol insists it must be done only after marriage, which infuriates Philip. He storms out but soon returns to propose to her, and she happily accepts. The next day, they get married in a small ceremony at a church. As they leave, they are shocked to see a crowd of survivors welcoming them. Philip panics and wakes up in his bed, realizing it was all a dream. Days later, their real wedding approaches. Philip is tasked with bringing the rings, but spends the night partying with his bowling ball buddy. On the wedding day, he forgets the rings, angering Carol. She storms home, but when Philip follows her, he finds she has decorated the house beautifully and baked a special wedding cake. Touched, he apologizes and takes her to a jewelry store to choose her ring. They officially become husband and wife. In the following days, the two start enjoying life together, doing absurd activities like setting themselves on fire in fireproof suits. They also visit Philip's girlfriend, a mannequin, which Carol playfully destroys. While returning home, they are in a minor car accident. A stunning woman, exactly like Philip's dream wife, steps out of the other vehicle. The episode ends with Philip staring at her in shock.